I am not a barber by any means.
You were so scared to shave my head.
Welcome to the Far More Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Far More Podcast. If this is your first time with us, you need to push pause and go back to the last episode because this is a two-part series, if you will, and you're going to be picking up right in the middle of the conversation if you listen to this one first. So you need to go back, listen to the episode before this one, and then come back here. And for those of you who have already listened to that last one, it's time to get started, and we're going to pick up right in the middle of the conversation. So here we go.
I think that helped drag me along in my own faith journey is just watching you in that season and how you are such a positive light to others. You were almost comforting other people that were hurting that you had cancer. Like, it was so interesting to watch from the outside.
Well, yeah.
In that season. And so we went from July to October, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you had the surgery. So that's the window of their cancer growing.
Yep.
Before you had the lumpectomy.
Mm-hmm.
And waiting rooms are a very lonely place. I can tell you that right now. I remember just sitting there I was there for like 8 hours.
For the surgery?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I just thought about? I just thought about something real quick, y'all. So, God's providence, that's a big word. God's plan. Everything, the sequence of everything happens for a reason. I believe. So let's go back to the beginning of this podcast. We were talking about how I lost that baby, which I did name Mercy, by the way.
It's your tattoo.
Yeah, I have a tattoo that I got in her honor. I believe that she is a girl. And I do believe that if that pregnancy had continued, the likelihood of me finding that lump would have gone down greatly. And I'm not going to explain why. Y'all can just use your imaginations. But there's a reason. There's a reason for everything that happened in that year. There's a reason for the sequence of events. There's a reason for all of it. And I had to remind myself of that. Like, please don't listen to this and think that I'm some sort of saint. I am not. I doubted things often, but I was constantly reminded of God's got his hand on you, girl. God's got his hand on you, girl. Even if you don't make it through this, God has got his hand on you. And something good is going to come from this. I did have to remind myself of that often.
Well, and me, because you would say it just like that, even if I don't make it. And
you didn't like that.
I'm like, don't say that.
Let's be real. You did not like that.
No, I think in moments that we argued in that season, it was when you said something like that. And I was like, that is not an option. Let's be real clear. This is not an option.
And I'm like, let's be real clear. Yeah. It could happen. Stop stop avoiding that hard conversation. But you did. For someone who loves hard conversations, you avoided that one like
that wasn't
the plague.
I did.
You didn't want any part of that conversation.
Nope. Shut that down. Not an option. Here's the game plan.
I thought you were about to say, shut up.
I might have said that.
You didn't. You didn't say that.
Okay. So October surgery.
Yep.
And then really the next thing I remember is around Christmas. I remember we were at my parents' house and we buzzed our heads because you were about to enter the chemo stage.
So
right.
What we forgot to include is that they said because of the type of cancer that you have, which was HER2 positive, triple negative, you'll have to Google it. There's so much involved with it. But because of the type of cancer I had, even though it had not spread to the lymph nodes, it had not metastasized, they still wanted me to do chemo while pregnant. So that was a whole,
to figure out what type of chemo
y'all just thinking about
that you could take that wouldn't pass through the placenta.
This is where I did start. I was like, chemo?
Well, hang on. We're compounding here. We're talking about at 1 year, lost a baby.
Mm-hmm.
In May. Get a cancer diagnosis.
In June.
Get a confirmation you're pregnant.
Also in June.
Go through a lumpectomy.
in October.
Now you're getting ready to go through chemo while pregnant.
In November, right around Thanksgiving time. I do remember that that's right around when it started, with the first chemo treatment. And I do have, y'all, this is going to sound so weird, but I have such fond memories in the Infusion Center because Jason's and my goal, we were like, okay, we got silver lining. I am all about finding the silver lining.
Me too. Positivity. Mister.
You radiate positivity. We decided, okay, the chemo center is going to be our mission field.
All right, hang on. I think we have to describe this place first. Okay.
Okay.
So this is at the old West
Yeah.
Clinic before they had this new amazing building they have now.
Yeah.
The old building was a much darker.
It was.
Very crowded.
It was not well lit.
It was a very sad place because you have people on various stages of their journey.
Yeah.
And it was a dark, depressing place.
It was.
To sit there and wait all day for an infusion.
Because that's the thing, when you are going through treatment, it's not a show up, check in, get set up and get your infusion. No. It really is, you're packing a day bag. That's because right. You are going to be there for probably at minimum 5-6 hours. That's at minimum. And so, yeah, it was a sad place, even if it had been a well-lit, bright,
That's right. Just
wonderful place. It's just the circumstances. And so Jason and I we went, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like we went in it very mission-minded. How can we make the best of a horrible situation?
I mean, I think you went in it mission-minded, and I was just willing to do whatever, right?
To
Given
appease
the situation.
me?
I
Okay.
was like, I'll do whatever. Like, I was just like...
You would even wear
That's right.
Superman pajamas.
I would wear matching Superman pajamas with you.
And I wore happy socks. I tried to put on a different pair of kind of happy socks every time because my goal, my mission, every time I went into that dark, depressing place was to make those around me smile because
it's what you do. It's what you do.
Radiate positivity.
That's what you do.
Find the silver lining. Show the love of Jesus. It's something that I tell my kids every single morning before they leave my car to go into their mission field, which is their school. Show the love of Jesus. Share the love of Jesus. Shine bright. And so that's what we tried to do.
So that's how we started the chemo journey in our matching Superman PJs.
Yep.
At least, and I think we were pretty entertaining for the staff.
Well,
I think our banter just was entertaining for the people there.
You have to stop, close your eyes, and try to picture this bald.
Well, you weren't bald yet, so hang on. We weren't in the bald
Oh, am
place.
I jumping? I'm
you
jumping
weren't bald
forward.
yet, so really.
But I was like showing.
Your hair didn't start falling out till we were about to begin the second treatment.
Okay.
So if you
A
remember,
lot of it is blurry.
We knew your hair was about to fall out, so I buzzed your head and I buzzed my head at my parents' house. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was like around Christmas.
I do.
It's around Christmas. And then we came back for your second chemo treatment. And then right after that is your shower moment. You remember that shower moment?
I don't know if I can tell this without crying.
It's okay.
So I was in the shower. It's where I found the lump. Now I'm washing my hair and it's really coming out like in clumps. And at first I was okay with it because I expected it. I'm like, okay, well, let's just keep going. And fortunately, I don't have a lot of hair to begin with, but it felt like it took forever. I felt like I was probably in there for 25 minutes, just trying to get it all out. And I'm like, okay, nothing else is coming out. Nothing else is coming out in my hand. So in my mind, I delusionally thought, okay, girl, you're completely bald. Like you're going to get out of the shower. It's going to look great. You're going to,
perfectly bald head.
That's right. Perfectly bald head. And so Also keep in mind, I am showing. I'm very pregnant at this point. And so as a woman, we're super vulnerable. I'm super vulnerable on a good day, but at this point, I'm super vulnerable. I get out of the shower. I look in the mirror. It was not completely bald. It was patchy, and I felt like I looked hideous. It was real sad. To lighten this a little bit, I looked like a mangy puppy.
Well, that's what you said. I remember I was in the living room, and
Oh.
you came out of the bathroom, like, just crying, and said, I look like a mangy puppy. And so I was like, oh,
shoot. Oh, shoot. What do I do? What do I do?
What do I do? And so I was just like,
Did I say I need your help?
you said, I need your help. I look like a mangy puppy. And I was like, are you ready to shave it?
What's your sign? Where was your sign, girl?
Well, but I had to just keep throwing out the questions
Sure, 'cause
I
you
just
didn't
didn't
know.
know where you really were, because it was a heavy emotional place.
It was.
And so I remember.
You talk about being raw and vulnerable. I felt so vulnerable.
Yeah, so I remember setting up the chair in that bathroom we had, and I am not a barber by any means.
You were so scared to shave
I was
my
scared
head.
to death to shave your head. I'm like, what if I cut you? I don't know what I'm doing here.
But there was hardly any hair to work with. But you were so nervous.
I was scared. We were all like emotional wrecks. Like
Yeah.
this was one of those, as much as I try to stuff down my emotions, this was a real moment.
Why don't you tell everybody what you actually did before you came into the bathroom to shave my head?
And that was after.
Oh, it was? It wasn't before? Oh, okay.
No, I was still like stuffing all my emotions down. I'm like, all right, we just got to do this, because I had a project to do.
Right.
It's like, we got
You are a doer.
We got to shave your head. And
Yeah.
so I remember shaving your head in the bathroom, and it looked amazing.
Y'all, I loved it.
Y'all, you had the best looking bald head ever.
Once I got rid of the mangy look, I rocked.
Like your confidence was super high after that.
When I hear it now, it makes no
Yeah.
sense to me that I was that confident.
You were. We had a photo shoot with you bald and pregnant. You remember that?
Yes.
But yeah, after that, after shaving your head and you started smiling again, like I went to the guest bathroom and just lost it. Like that was just me.
I did not know this,
emptying
though.
out all. I didn't tell
I
you
was
that for years.
Unaware.
Like it was like every emotion that I had held for the past 6 months just
came out of your face.
And then I remember looking up in the mirror and like, all right, time to get over this.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Suck it up, buttercup. Wash your face. Get back out there, soldier.
That's
kind of
right.
Mentality. But yeah, that was one of those real moments for me when you shave your wife's head
Because
she has cancer and she's
pregnant.
6 months pregnant at this point. Like you grow up that day.
Yeah.
And I think our marriage grew up in that season too.
It sharpened us in, I feel like, one of the best ways possible.
I think we crammed 15 years of marriage into that year.
Yeah. It was a lot.
It was
heavy.
It was a lot.
But Jesus.
And then after a couple more chemo sessions,
I got to ring the bell.
you got to ring the bell.
There's a bell that you get to ring when you are done with treatment, and it was freezing. I remember it was so cold outside, but I rang. In my mind, I remember I rang that thing like as hard as I could, because I'm like, yes, now it's time to have, to get ready to have this baby.
That's right.
And we had already named her Sammy Kate, our princess warrior princess, because she, for all intents and purposes, she was going through all of this with me.
That's right.
She went through surgery with me. She went through treatment. She could hear us, going through all of these moments. And it was go time. It was time to have a baby.
Then April 11th.
April 11th, she came out and she was perfect and beautiful. And then it got hard again because, this is me being super vulnerable. I had postpartum depression really bad. Real bad, because for so long, my mission, my goal was to get her here safely. Get her here safely. And I did that. And once that happened, I feel like in my mind, I was like, okay, I did it, Lord. I did my job. Check. I got her here safely. I'm done. Because I held it together pretty well up until that point. But unfortunately, postpartum depression is a real thing, and I experienced it. And I experienced it on a very deep, visceral level. But again, God was there through it all, and I'm so grateful we have a village of support around us in Jason's parents, my parents, his mom, my mom. They rallied around us and stepped in. This is what Jesus does for us. He stands in the gap. He stands in the gap for us. And I think that that's a beautiful picture of what a marriage should be too. Jason stood in the gap for me when I just, I'm getting super duper emotional. Because I'm grateful. You can't tell it by how my face looks right now. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for Jesus modeling that for us. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life who look to that model for inspiration, because Jason stood in the gap for me. He always does. He's always standing in the gap for me when I'm too weak to do something. And I stand in the gap for him. And so in that season, there was a whole lot of gap standing. The faith piece in such a hard season, I don't know what I would have done without my faith. I don't know how you get through the storms. We talked about storms in a previous episode. It's called Jesus Wake Up. You can go listen to it if you haven't. It's that faith that gets us through those storms. And without that, I would be lost. I would be so lost. But man, what a season.
What a season. But also, what a testimony. Because through all of that, whether it's losing Mercy, going through cancer, being pregnant, postpartum, like that whole just year-long journey, which was hard and messy, you have been able to connect and minister to so many women because of that.
I have. It's unbelievable.
It goes back to, it didn't feel like a blessing in the moment, right? But It's been a blessing because God's been able to use that to bless others through you, through your testimony.
And that's what our lives are about.
And that is what's
others.
been awe-inspiring being on this side of it, to watch you do that and watch the magical moments when God just randomly places someone in your life who has some kind of overlapping story arc.
Right.
And you're there.
Yeah.
No questions asked. You're there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You have sent me messages like, you've shot me a text like, hey, do you mind if ... And I'm like, why are you even asking me? Of course. And I have people reaching out to me. Hey, my friend just got diagnosed. I cannot tell y'all how many of these text messages I get. Hey, my friend, or hey, I was just diagnosed with cancer. Can we talk? And on one hand, it breaks my heart because I know how hard that is. But on the other hand, I'm like, this is why this happened. And you say something often, make your tension your testimony. And another friend of mine, she says, let your mess be your mission, or your mess be your ministry. And it's so true. Yeah. And God has used it in such a powerful way. And it's wonderful to think about. It's hard, but it is.
Yeah. But it's also another reminder of how important genuine Christian community is. to be able to have people to call on in those moments that can be faith warriors when you're too exhausted to be a faith warrior sometimes, or when you can't see a path through. Have those people that are there with you that just love you and love the Lord and are there no matter how dark the season may be.
Yeah, so you brought up a good point. There in that season when I was going through treatment and in surgery, leading up to Sammy Kate being born, I think my mom had told me, you don't realize it, but there are literally thousands. And I don't think she was exaggerating.
No, not at all.
She said there are literally thousands of people praying for you. And that was moving because, again, that's another picture, an example of people standing in the gap for me in that moment, just crying out to the Lord, just to bring me through it. And those prayers were felt. They are what got me through. The prayers and the Lord and you and Brandon, that little guy. And here we are, 10 years later.
Here we are.
10 years later, because, we're in October and 10 years.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. I do want to encourage the women out there listening, watching. If you have not been seen by a doctor, please go. I get that. Listen, mammograms are no fun. I don't even know if you know what happens. I'm not going to say what happens, but
I'm familiar.
It's not a cakewalk. It is not what I would consider me time, but y'all do it. You got to be proactive, because that's one thing that I learned in this journey as well, is that you have to be your own advocate and, take charge of your health. Don't walk through life oblivious, please. Go do it.
Yeah, be your own advocate and take someone with you to lean on.
Yes.
Or go be someone that someone can lean on.
Yes. Because it's not a fun appointment.
And you'll always take a phone call.
Yeah, I will.
That's right.
Yes. You can anyone can always reach out to me, because
Send you a message.
I know what it's like, and I want to be able to help you, help people through that. Well, this was a heavy episode.
It was, but thank you for
cried a lot.
reliving that. Looking back 10 years, it was a critical year in our life, and it's a big part of our story, and it's a big part of a year that shaped our life and our marriage and who we are. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for being so fantastic most of the time.
I mean, I don't know about most of the time.
Until next time.
Every now and then.
Oh, guess what?
What's that?
So last episode, I reminded everybody that we're on the socials.
Okay.
So I feel like we need to do that every week. Just remind y'all that we are on all things social: Facebook, Twitter, X.
Let us know your favorite social. By commenting would be fantastic.
Instagram, TikTok.
That's right.
YouTube Shorts. We are at Far More Podcast on all things social. And we're so happy to be here. Are you having fun?
Usually.
That's honest.
Usually. Sometimes you give me the sweats.
It was
The
my
nervous
turn.
sweats.
It was I see what it's like now being on the receiving end.
Welcome to all of a sudden you're like, boom.
Because I mean, y'all, I'm going to be honest, I kind of got the sweats too. But you know what? It's fun.
That's what it's about. Love you.
I love you. Until next time,
See
we'll
ya.
see ya.